What's cracking, people? It's your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I wanted to relate an interesting observation that I've made in recent weeks, and this has to do with dialogues that have been taking place, not only in what I refer to as the select manosphere, but in the manosphere at large. And they center around conversations content creator Kevin Samuel has been having on his channel. And for those who may or may not know, Kevin is one of the select gentlemen who I include in the description of every video that I publish on the YouTube side. This is because when I first began creating content for YouTube in general, I observed a list of distinguished content creators, and I determined early on that this is a group of content creators who listeners would do well to listen to. Now, we don't necessarily agree on every single point, and that's the best part of this. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to bring different views, different sets of skills, experience, and perspectives to the table. And what happens when you do that, you get events like the one that I'm going to highlight today. This particular conversation that Kevin Samuels had is probably one that needs to be read into the official record of historical conversations. And it's really one that was 50 years, literally 50 years in the making. Now, I'm going to link the entire video down below, but I want to play for you the snippet of this particular conversation that Kevin had that really speaks to why this space is so valuable, more so today than any other time in history. Okay, here we go.
Treat black men like you treat your boss at work or the men who you work with. That's all we're asking for. Not the world, just cooperation. Nikki, what's going on?
What does the truth matter? And why are you going to be truthful with me when you lie to everybody else? You lied when you smiled at that cracker down the job, right? Lie to me, smile. Treat me the same way you would treat him.
I can't treat you.
You must. Because I've caught the frowns and the anger. He's happy with you. Of course he doesn't know you're unhappy. You grin at him all day long. You come home and I catch hell because I love you. I get least of you. I get the very minimum.
Now I know what you're thinking. How in the hell did Kevin know to say the name Nikki in accordance to the conversation that Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin had 50 years ago? Well, let me tell you how the universe works. No matter what your position is on spirituality, religion, causality, relativity, if you're a science head, at a point in which information needs to come out and surface, it will do so. Now, both of these conversations can be unpacked over the course of many hours, many days, and even weeks of analysis and breakdown on both sides. But I wanted to pair those two snippets of those conversations because 50 years apart, both sides of the coin are speaking to the exact same phenomenon. And the reason why we've come to this point in history is not due to any organic battle of the sexes. This is due to a specific set of conditions and circumstances that were put into motion many years before the majority of the audience listening to this podcast were even conceived. So before we can take an honest look and an attempt to evaluate why a woman does what she does, a modern woman does what she does, or why a modern man does what he does, we need to first look at the bigger picture, which is what a lot of men in this space that I highlight in my description every video, a lot of men that I highlight have experience in observing human behavior. That's the most important factor in a quality content creator, but also in what I refer to as a masculine master. Because when the people who come to us that we counsel and that we give advice on and that we coach and that we mentor and that we teach, when they ask the question, and we all have gotten this question, well, what's your read list? What are some books that you can recommend to me that I can use or to reference what the sum of your content or the sum of your positioning came from? And to be clear, we're able to respond with reference material that are scholarly and have some observations and opinions. But the truth of the matter is, we're writing those books as we speak. Every conversation that we have that's in an open, honest, forward-facing forum that engages mature, seasoned adults, we are putting together the material of the books for now and into the future. This is because in the past there were books that were accurate, portrayals of the trials and tribulations of modern life for that time period, but also they spoke of the external factors that had to do with how the sexes regarded each other, what their relationship dynamic was with each other, and with the powers that be that allowed them to exist in an environment of that day. What happened to those books is a process that is very similar to what happens regarding censorship of honest and raw conversations today. Those books were burned. And so in an attempt to craft a narrative, in an attempt to establish a social order, in order to manipulate a situation and put into position certain factors that led to the eventual future that we find ourselves in right now, that narrative had to be muted, destroyed, and replaced by an artificial narrative. And this touches on a deeper subject, but in going back to the original topic of this discussion, when we look at the factors and the variables that went into the sum of these two discussions that happened 50 years apart, anybody who has a basic understanding of math can discover what the common denominator is. The common denominator is external. The complete 180-degree turn from the man being the head of household and the American black community to the woman being head of household and the American black community is not an organic thing. It is not a phenomenon that is naturally occurring in any society on the planet or in history. And so the solution or remedy for this phenomenon is not something that has already been documented in textbooks, or at least documents or textbooks that exist that the common person can get their hands on. That is why these spaces are important and imperative at this time, because in order to address, in order to identify, in order to dissect, and in order to make a way forward, we have to do so collectively, one conversation at a time. As always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.